Welcome to the Pearl Polto Show. The contents of today's show is a very important show to save your life. Looks could be very deceiving. I am not a doctor, and yet I have scrubs on. My guest worked in the medical field, and she's not a drug addict. If we save one life today by this show, then this show is going to be worth it, even if it's one life. Everything we have to say today, and this show is also, when I said looks could be deceiving, pills are also deceiving, and so are some doctors. And, this show is also, let me stress, this show is dedicated to my best friend, Dolores, who had a massive heart attack. And I wish I knew then what I knew now, because maybe I could have made some changes, and maybe she still would have been alive today of doing some homework and seeing the signs. And I was her close best friend, but I didn't. And yet, I wish I would have known then what I knew now. I would have made some changes. Today I'm doing a special show because I hope I can help someone out there, and with my guest, to let you know you're not alone out there. You are not alone. This show is dedicated, as I said, to my best friend for a reason. And I could have helped her, but I was ignorant to the fact that she was in pain, mentally and physically. And then when she had her heart attack one day, I wondered, what was this all about? Because she was against drugs. She was actually against drugs. Since we were kids, she was against drugs. But today we're going to discuss, one, if you're addicted to pain pills and what the signs are. And if your doctor gets paid by these prescribed drugs. And how one doctor lost his license because it was a malpractice case. He gave drugs and an overdose to people, and the woman died. And how easy it is to get drugs and pills from other countries as well. Do doctors get paid to prescribe drugs? Two of the world's largest drug companies are paying hundreds of millions of dollars to doctors. And every year in return for giving their patients medicine, which they're now saying many are unsafe at the common use doses. We're now learning that many, even cancer doctors, saying that the payments that give doctors an incentive to prescribe medicines at a level that might increase patients of heart attacks and strokes. I have a funeral to go to this week of my cousin as well. And they did an autopsy on her because of a doctor giving her wrong drugs to that effect. Does everybody out there trust your doctor to prescribe drugs for you? Do you trust him enough? Some doctors have lost their license, as I said, to prescribe after reviewing records and found cases of malpractice. Some family members are saying, too late, too late. However, there's laws out there to prohibit some of these American pusher drugs from these countries. And yet, many Americans are bringing these drugs back from other countries and still want to take a chance from other countries. How to buy drugs in other countries, foreign doctors, how hard is it? So if your doctor's being responsible and you know other sources, American often wonders whether it's legal to purchase their prescription and drugs from a doctor from another country. Are they really doctors? Canada, Mexico, India, and they bring them back. And the reason for this is simple. That may be a benefit in purchasing drugs outside the United States, but the cost of the brand names in many other countries, and maybe a lot less than the United States. Some drugs are even available, but not in the United States. And some drugs that require a prescription in the United States does not require, let's say, a prescription in Mexico or even India. Give you an example, the pill Viex is used by many people in the United States. And it was developed by Merck by 1999. It brought pain relief to millions of people. We trusted our doctors. We trusted the companies. We went through testing. It was approved by the FDA and then was considered safe. And then it was released out to the market. It didn't take long that many patients died of heart attacks and strokes. People were getting sick and dying that were taking this drug. It went through a court battle to tell the people, hey, it was safe, even though millions were dying. So consider the company, Merrick. Greed stands in between life and death for some patients and life and pain for others. This drug was supposed to be removed from the market, and it was. But guess what? It went back on the market. There is so much confusion out there about the differences between the disease of addiction and actually the dependency upon the pain pills. And even some doctors don't understand the differences, and they regret it. Any person who regularly takes pain pills for weeks, months, for whatever reason, yes, they're going to develop a physical dependency on these drugs. But addiction is much more than the physical process. With addiction, people with addiction think about the drugs often. That's all they think about. And they spend time using, recovering from the drug, and continue to use the drug even when bad things happen. And then dependency takes over. Here's a few questions that even a doctor asks a patient. Do you take the medication that was prescribed? Do I take extra doses? Do I take medication that's not intended for me? All these questions. Do I become intoxicated or high from my medication? Do I tell my doctor? Am I looking forward to my next dose of medication? Am I waiting for the hours to take it? Do I get impaired by my medication? Do I have pain, bad moods, anxiety changes? Have I driven when under the influence of pills? And should I be driving? Do I get prescriptions from more than one doctor? Now, we're going to talk about this, how a person goes from doctor to doctor. Do I spend a lot of time worrying about running out of my medication? Do I spend a great time of thinking about my medication? You know, and if you have answers to yes on this, then you could be addicted. I did some homework on the internet as well, besides the doctors, and I was amazed. I was amazed because I seen how you can even get morphine from another country. But you can't print it out. I mean, you can't see this, but it didn't say anything. It just printed out the left-hand side of what you can get. And you can't even call them. You have to email them with your credit card through Federal Express, whatever. And you can get any drug you want in the United States from other countries. Is this right? But it's not that it's right or wrong. You know, sometimes, here's what happens. Imagine you go to the emergency room and a patient comes to see the doctor. And they're in pain. Well, what's the doctor supposed to do? He looks up your chart and you say, wow, is they truly in pain? Are they a junkie just looking for a fix? And I'm going to say something when I'm done saying this because I experienced it from my friend. Millions of Americans abuse prescription pain medication every year. Who do you blame? They're in pain. They go to the doctor. And it's terrifying when they go to the emergency room. The doctor may ask the patient, well, what's your pain level? On a 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. And if you ever felt, if you were in their shoes, if a patient insists that their pain is 10, sitting in the waiting room for hours, the doctor will probably say, he's lying to me. The patient starts off telling you what dose of medication they need and rattle off a whole bunch of painkillers that, hey, maybe he'll give me one. But the dose of medication that they need is much higher than the dose for the average person. The patient comes to you with every excuse in the book as far as these doctors. My meds were stolen. I lost my prescription. My dog ate it. And then the physical examination is inconsistent with the pain that the doctor's giving you. For example, the people who has a great deal of pain often has a fast heart rate. fast breathing, and they're uncomfortable. Emergency room doctors often they're put into a tough spot with this behavior, and they can never be 100% sure of either way. So we can't blame our doctors either. I blame the doctors because doctors usually know. They usually know how far, and these pills are addicted. They get a commission when they order these pills. And the reason why I'm saying is, how do you tell a junkie from a person who is in pain? And the reason why I labeled it that, how do you tell a junkie from a person who is in pain? Because I remember my best friend who died. And she's in here today, I could assure you. But I remember seeing her in a hospital, and she was in so bad pain. And they didn't believe her. They didn't believe her. I did. They didn't believe her. And finally they said, well, we have to do more tests. And they did. And she came crying to me and said, I'm in pain and I'm not a junkie. And when the doctor came back up and I was in that room, he apologized to her and said, you have this problem with your bowels. And, she shook her head like relief. And in that relief was saying, thank God. Thank God I have something. Or they would have thought I was a junkie. And she used to sit there with me and say, Pearl, you grew up with me. Teenage years. I'm not a junkie. And I know she wasn't, because all the people that we hung around with in our 20s would say, do you want this? Do you want? No, I'm against it. But the pain that she was in, as she would say to me, physically and mentally, this is why what happens. And she had so many surgeries. And I regret, and the guilt that I still have today, I wish I could turn the tables back, because those tables would have been, I would have done anything, not just to bring her back, but I would have done anything to get her where she was still alive, if I knew then what I know now. I have my guest today. She's also in the medical field. She was in the medical field. And she's going to tell you a lot of things that are going to shock you. But she also knew my friend, because we all knew our friend. And we have her picture sitting right here in front of us because we feel she's here today. And she feels the pain because she knows she's been there. I want to introduce my guest. And first I want to welcome Denise. Thank you for many people wouldn't do this, but thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Pearl. My objective to come on the show today was, as you said, if I can help one person, I've succeeded in what I've wanted to do. At the age of 32.
But what was your profession?
My profession, I went to school for psychology. I worked in the mental health field, from a direct care worker up to a director of a facility. And my life basically was stripped from me at the age of 32. I had been having issues with my back, which I contributed to restraining in the medical profession.
Right.
The psychiatric patients sometimes come in out of control. And there are times where you have to place hands upon an individual to try to gain control of them because they're endangering of themselves or others.
Right.
Well, I continued to see one specific doctor, and he said to me, "Oh, you're overweight. Your core muscles are weak." And this had been going on since I was in my teenage years. Well, a friend of mine said to me, "Denise, I want you to just take a chance and go down to see my doctor." And I said, okay, I've been seeing this doctor for a number of years. He knows my family. He knows, the history of the family. But, okay, I'll go. Well, to my surprise, when I went down to see this specific doctor that she asked me to go see, who is in South Philly, who I owe my life to, he went down my spine with his fingers. Mm-hmm. And that quickly, he said to me, "This is not a muscle issue, Denise. This is not a weight issue. This is a disc issue. I'm sending you to the hospital stat to get an MRI." course, with that, panic set in, anxiety set in. I was only 32 years of age, as I stated. When the results came back, he didn't even know how to actually tell me. He just shook his head and tears started rolling down his eyes. And I said, "Doctor, what's wrong?" And he said to me, "Well, you have a severely, severely herniated disc, L4, L5, which is the most commonly blown disc in somebody's back. We need to see what we can do. I'm going to send you to a neurosurgeon." I was sent to a neurosurgeon. I was put on the medication that Pearl mentioned, which was Vioxx. It caused internal bleeding. I had to come off of Vioxx. I was put on another medication similar to Vioxx. I wasn't getting any type of relief. I was in excruciating pain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to the point that I couldn't even lay in my bed because I couldn't even lift myself up to get into the bed. I was more comfortable laying on the floor. Well, as things started to continue with going to the neurosurgeon, I was then told that I really needed to have back surgery. And I come in the medical profession as well as my family. I have a longevity in the medical profession with my family, cousins and aunts and sisters and what have you. When I saw the size of the herniation on L4, L5, it was larger than a grape. I was told that I needed a laminectomy, discectomy. So I obviously consulted my family and my primary care physician, who I obviously had changed now to this doctor down in South Philadelphia from living up in the far northeast area. And I went in to have the procedure. I was told that I would be back to work within 30 days. That everything would rectify itself, that my spine, I did suffer also from scoliosis and recessed stenosis, degenerating disc disease, degenerating joint disease, but that's not uncommon. I mean, it was uncommon at my age, but it wasn't uncommon to suffer from those diseases once they saw my back. A lot of my back is genetic. Thank you, Mother. But when I did go in to have the laminectomy, discectomy, I was so terrified that I wouldn't be able to walk. And I wound up going into an asthma attack in the recovery room. So at that point in time, not only did I just blow the surgery that was just basically performed on me, I basically put myself in a situation where I had to become bedridden for 30 days due to the severity of the injuries now and the trauma that I had caused to my back from having the asthma attack in the recovery room. I actually was under anesthesia, and the nurses had to wake me up to bring me out of the anesthesia in order for me. To make a long story short, I went and continued to see the neurosurgeon. I was placed on 14 pills 3 times a day. 14 pills 3 times a day, which in excess, I unfortunately had to go on Social Security disability due to the medical diseases that...
14 pills the doctor put you on?
14 controlled substances.
I was going to say, what kind of pills are these that you're talking about?
14 controlled substances.
Narcotic pills?
They were classified from narcotics to controlled substances.
Now, this was supposed to be to ease the pain?
Correct.
Okay, so this is what he prescribed. Why so much, though, at the beginning?
Well, in the beginning, they said that my back had so much trauma from having the asthma attack that not only did I blow the disc that I just had surgery on,
right,
but it started to popcorn up my vertebrae.
So, but that many pills and that much medication, wouldn't that have knocked you out?
It did initially. It absolutely laid me to rest, which is basically what the doctor's itinerary was in the beginning.
Okay.
They wanted me to be bedridden for 30 days to heal my back.
So all this medication was to make you stay in that bed?
Correct.
Okay.
And I was only allowed to take one step, and I had to go, if I had to go to the bathroom, it had to be via commode. I was not allowed to get up and walk to my bathroom.
Okay.
It terrified me at 32. I'm not going to lie. It put me in a devastated state. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to trust.
Now, after 30 days, did you go back to work?
I did not, unfortunately. That, in my opinion, that was just a patch to make me feel
good.
Right. Like if I had this surgery, everything was going to work out. And that was the farthest thing from the truth. So I began taking these 14 pills a day.
And you felt good.
And I felt good, but it also made me very lethargic to the point where I couldn't keep my eyes open.
Okay.
I started burning myself. I'm a smoker, which is not a good thing, but I would start to nod off watching TV with a cigarette in my hand, and I burnt my hand many a times. I burnt my pajamas, my clothing, my carpet. So, on a weekly, monthly basis, I went back to the doctor, and I would explain what my complications were with being on this medication was. So the neurosurgeon unfortunately said to me, okay, well, there's nothing really more that I can do for you. I have to send you to a quote-unquote a pain management doctor. This pain management doctor is going to now prescribe the medication that he feels as though is necessary for you and your illnesses.
Now, how about the 14 medications that the first doctor gave you? Did he?
I still had to continue.
You still had to continue that.
Continue taking them.
Okay.
Prior to seeing.
Okay, you want to see the pain medication doctor.
Right.
Okay.
The pain medication doctor then took me off of basically the 14 pills and put me on what he wanted me to be on.
Okay.
Okay, which initially started off as being OxyContin.
Wow.
I had a tremendous fear of being on OxyContin due to the fact that I had a grandmother that was ill, and I saw she had cancer, and I saw what the OxyContin did to her.
Yes.
And she was on a much lower dosage than I was on. I continued to go back, and the doctor would say to me, do you still have pain? Yeah, I still have pain. How bad is your pain on, as you said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain? On a daily basis, I'm an 8, 9. There are times where I peak and I valley. I peak in it depending upon what I do.
But did you ever get to the point where they put you on the OxyContin, you were on the 14, now you weren't even thinking of the pain now. Was there ever a point you were thinking of, I just want that pill because I feel good?
No, not me per se. I didn't have that craving. I did not look forward to taking my next dose. I resented my next dose because of how it made me lethargic.
Okay.
I felt like I was turning into somebody that I didn't have control of.
Okay.
And I would go back and relay this message to the doctor and say, I don't like the way that I'm feeling. Okay. It's making me extremely tired. It's making me lethargic. It's making me want to stay in bed. And his response was, well, that will pass. You're only on it for a short period of time. That will pass. Well, it did pass, but then he kept increasing my dosage to the point where I was up to 310 milligrams of OxyContin a day. And I am standing here telling you 310 milligrams of OxyContin a day I was taking.
And you were immune to this now.
Correct.
You had to be getting immune to it.
I was immune to it. I was functioning on a daily basis. I was in the presence of my family on a daily basis. They didn't see any signs of addiction. Addiction has been in our family, so we obviously know the telltale signs. It was a tremendous feeling of worthlessness, but yet knowing that I needed this medication in order for me to even just get up and take a step out of bed in the morning.
Now, did you think of your family and your friends? Did you say, oh, they're going to think I'm addicted?
They did think I was addicted.
But
not only...
You knew you weren't, but you didn't know how to explain to them.
Nobody at that point in time could understand where I was coming from. The steps that I had to take and the pain that I was in just to put my leg over the side of the bed.
So you would be wanting to scream at everybody to say, I am not addicted.
Correct.
I'm in pain. Is anybody listening?
Correct. I was actually tested for MS because they thought initially that's what I had because I couldn't pick up my feet. And
what did you think of the people
I resented them.
I was going to say, what did you think of the people that would call you a dope addict and everything
I
else?
absolutely 100% resented them and looked at them with tremendous disgust. Unless you've walked in my shoes, don't call me an addict.
Okay.
I've been an addict. I know where an addict will go to take the medication that they need.
Now, I'm going to jumpstart this because I remember when you were still, now you're on this and you're addicted to this now because of the pain and because of the singer, what's her name?
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston. All these doctors, everybody got scared over Whitney Houston. And I remember you saying, you're not going to believe this.
Right.
I'm like, now tell us from there.
Well, I went into the doctor's office and I basically said to the doctor, look, I went into the hospital on December 14th. I was told that I had a stroke. I want to come off of this medication. He said to me, if you're not willing to follow what our office guidelines are, you're not welcome back in this practice.
So you were already taking Noxycontin. You were already taking this.
Correct.
And you're saying, I'm still in pain. And he's saying, no, we're taking you off of it.
He didn't say we're taking you off. He told me I wasn't welcome in this practice. He didn't say I'll wean you down. I'll let you see where your baseline is. Now,
Was he scared? I mean, what was you're in a profession. What was your professional opinion now when you see that? I mean, you could have, when he's saying I'm taking you off of all this, you probably panicked.
I did panic. And he, again, as I stated, he didn't say that he was taking me off. He told me I wasn't welcome back in his practice. So at that point in time, I had to make a decision for myself. How am I going to survive now? I'm on such a high dose of this medication.
Wow.
This doctor is telling me I can't come back to his practice because I want to be reduced from this medication.
So the average person now, let's think about this. You're in the medical field, but the average person out there, they would go on the streets.
Correct.
To get heroin, codeine, whatever.
Correct.
Out of being desperate. Am I right?
You're absolutely correct, because heroin is the closest thing to Oxycontin, and when you cannot afford it, that's where they turn.
So this is where the average person is going, but you had enough smarts because of your common sense and because of your profession to say, no way, and he's telling you, you can't take this no more.
Correct. The doctor just, every week or every month I would go back to this doctor. This doctor would increase my medication. And I would say, why are you increasing me? My pain level is the same. I'm not asking you to increase me. I want to stay where I'm at. And he would say to me, oh, the insurance companies came in and audited my files, and you've been on the same dose for 6 months. We have to bump you up a little bit. Because you're saying that your pain level is an 8. And the insurance companies see that, and they don't think you're getting any type of relief from the medication. Well, I agreed to be bumped up. But again, when I stated that I suffered a stroke in December, that put the fear of God in me. And I decided from that point, and doctor, you know who you are that I'm talking about. If you were not willing to take me off, I contacted my primary care physician. I told him what I had already started, because when I went to the hospital for the stroke, they refused to give me the dosage of medication that I was on. And this is the same hospital that this pain management doctor was at. So they had my files clearly at hand. They could see the dose that I was prescribed 3 times a day. Now you're telling a patient we're not giving you anything, who has been laying on a gurney in a hallway, being told you suffered a stroke at the age of 42 now. Now, 10 years later, still being on this medication, having multiple epidurals, cortisone injections. I went through the whole 9 yards. The surgeries, they were all unsuccessful. If you have a pain in your back and you have a back injury, you will suffer with that pain for the rest of your life. You have to make a decision. And this is a decision solely you have to make. I mean, you can have the support of your family, but this decision is, are you going to submit to the devil, or are you going to rise up to the occasion? And
or are you going to be intimidated because everybody thinks you're a drug addict?
Right. Or are you going to be intimidated because of the stereotype that people place upon you because you have a medical illness?
What is that feeling like? I know with my friends, you used to say to me, Pearl, I'm physically and mentally in pain.
And that's where it puts you. It puts you in such a depressed mental state of mind. Not only are you dealing with the physical pain, but now you're dealing with people looking at you differently, people prejudging you. All you have to do is tell them that you're taking medication on a daily basis. What medication are you taking? Well, I have to take a pain pill for my back. I have fibromyalgia. I have to take this. I have an anxiety disorder. I have to take that. Or the doctor prescribed this to me. I have a multitude of injuries. As I stated, I have degenerating disc disease, degenerating joint disease. This is throughout my body. Fibromyalgia, which is extremely painful. Neuropathy, extremely painful. But you get to a point where
you don't trust anybody.
You don't trust anybody. The doctors who you did put your trust in are making you become, as you stated, a medical dependent junkie. And you're not a junkie. And I am here to tell anybody that has walked in my shoes, do not allow family, friends, anybody who cares about you, classify you as a drug addict. You are not a drug addict. You have become dependent due to your illness that the doctors have placed upon you. Doctors have placed this medication in your hands because of what the results of your testing has showed. You didn't ask to be placed upon this medication. You didn't ask to be placed upon the dose of medication that the doctors are putting you on. But as Pearl said, I knew Dolores personally. And every day I could see Dolores, and I seen the pain in Dolores' eyes. Dolores was not faking her pain. I knew that Dolores, before Dolores even told me that she had a back injury, we all walk the same. Those of us who have back injuries can relate to what I'm saying. We all walk with the hunchback until we can work our spine back up to the way it needs to be. Dolores had spinal fusions. They tell you with spinal fusions you won't have pain anymore. That's a crock. I am here to tell you it's a crock. You will have pain for the rest of your life.
But wait a minute. Let's think about this now. We're in a situation where, what do you think the doctors should do? Or what do you think, because you did it. Well, matter of fact, when we come back, we're going to go to a commercial. When we come back, she's going to tell you what you should be doing, and not to sit back to say, everybody's downing me. We'll be right back. You know, many of you out there is on a diet. Many of you out there have tried everything, including myself. And I've tried to lose 10 pounds in the last couple years. Couldn't do it. And I've tried everything. And if you're tired of fad diets and expensive and weight loss plans, and I have tried them all, there's only one place and one time that I said something. And every second, 5 people across the United States drink a milkshake. Well, this milkshake is a 90-day challenge kit, and I took it. It arrives packed with powerful wellness products to help you lose weight, get into shape, and achieve your fitness goal. And I've lost 10 pounds, and so far I'm feeling great, but I want to lose 5 more pounds. Not to mention that these shakes actually taste like a cake mix. That's right, a cake mix. So you want to lick it to the bottom. So if you'd rather not lose weight in public or eat expensive foods or be forced to go to the gym, this is for you, because I don't like to exercise. So Body by V includes all the tools, supports, and products that you need. The entire month. It's a 30-day supply, and it's only $49 and shipping. 60 meals of fun for only $99 plus shipping for favorable body energy. I did it, and I'm going to put my testimony to it. I've lost 10 pounds already. So what are you waiting for? Success is simple as setting a goal to select a kit. Order it online. It's www.getbodybyvi.net, or you can mail the distributor personally, 888-846-8811. Ask for Carl Romano. He's a personal friend of mine. He's the independent distributor of this product, and I can't thank him enough. Try it. I want to thank everybody. That does work. I tried to lose weight. Every time you're on television or radio, especially television, you look 10 pounds heavier. And I told Carl I wanted to lose 10 pounds. And he gave me the shake, and I've been on it. And I lost my 10 pounds, and I was so surprised. And I put my testimonial to it because I said, you know what? After all the diets out there, it worked. And don't forget, before I forget, next week's show, it's July 4th week, but we're still going to be on. It's going to be the show on bankruptcy. It's going to be Tuesday, a day ahead of time. But we're going to do the show, The 10-Year Curse of Bankruptcy. We got some great shows coming up. We have a great show today because many people out there, and I know you're listening from here to California, and many of you are personal friends of mine. And you're saying, what do I do? Everybody thinks I'm a drug addict. Everybody thinks I'm addicted. What do I do? Well, here's one person that beat the odds, and she didn't like what was happening to her. As I said, I wish I could turn the tables back. I was there for my friend every day, and even today it affects me because I can't travel now. I traveled with her everywhere, and I can't because she's here today, and I know it. She's around me all the time. But I wish I knew. And I used to say to Denise, I wish I knew now what I knew then. I don't know what I would have done, but I would have maybe done differently to keep her around one more day. Because when you lose somebody that close, you'll never, never, never get over it. To the people out there, Denise, that are watching this and they're saying, wow, that's me that you're talking about. What do you say to these people? And then what's the next step that you did? You have to be pretty strong what you did, though. You have to be pretty strong. But what made you so strong? I mean, lead up to that.
I got tired, Pearl. I got tired of people looking at me. They wouldn't necessarily say it, but you could see it in their eyes, the look of disgust. Like the look of, oh, well, you look fine on the outside. Well, I do look fine from the outside. Mm-hmm. I don't look like I have any type of issues. But when you look at my reports, you would say, holy heck, this girl's only 42 years of age. She's had, adrenal tumors, which adrenal tumors are contributed from taking the medication. Fibromyalgia, as I said, degenerating disc disease, degenerating joint disease, recess stenosis, scoliosis, fibromyalgia, torn ACL, lateral and medial meniscus.
Who do you blame, though? Do you blame the doctor?
I blame the doctor for placing me upon medication.
But what else are they going to do? What else is a doctor going to do if you go to their office and say, doctor, I'm in pain. They do an x-ray. Well, you have inflammation here. Here's what I need. They give them to you.
Right, they do give them to you, and they give them to you pretty freely. Mm-hmm. However, my feeling is, if you're in pain, you should have to take a pain medication on an as-needed basis.
But that's what it's supposed to be, though, as needed.
Not when you go to a pain management doctor. A pain management doctor will tell you, you have to take this pill.
But that's to bring you back, correct?
3 times a day.
That's also to bring you back to them.
Correct, which they're receiving perks from. I find it very ironic that...
What does a pain management, what kind of pills do they give you? Are they actually doctors?
They are doctors. They're normally anesthesiologists that worked in the field of anesthesiology.
So they can give you any Percocets, they can give you Oxycontin if they want to.
Correct. Klonopin, Vicodin, whatever they choose to put you on, or whatever the perks are for that.
Now let me ask you, people with cancer, Jersey, it's legal. What's your opinion on this with the marijuana? It's a drug, but it's not really a drug. It is.
It is, and
it's legal in many states right now.
And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to sit here and tell you in front of the camera that, yes, I have done it. I have done it since I've been off of the medication. And I can tell you that it has helped me. I don't do it on a daily basis. I don't do it on...
do you think it should be legalized in every state?
Absolutely. I think that if you have the medical need. Here's my take on marijuana. Yes, I worked in drug abuse also, so I'm familiar with both aspects of marijuana being abused as an addictive form, and marijuana being used as a medical form. I had a sister that had cancer. I had a grandmother that had cancer. My grandmother was down to 76 pounds. I know for a fact that marijuana helped her.
Of course.
It made her put on weight.
Of course. Yeah.
I resent the fact of not being open with my family and not telling my family what I was doing with my grandmother, but I didn't think that they would understand.
I remember one time I was going to give my father, I said to my father when he was in pain and my mother, I said, do you want marijuana? I'll get it. You want it to get the pain? Because when people are in pain, but you see, they're all afraid that everybody's going to perceive them differently.
Absolutely.
And
You're
that's
going to
it.
perceive
and
as a
this is
junkie.
what this show is all about. Because, you know, if you're in pain, you have to, she's going to tell you how she got off of it and what she did and what scared her. But when you're in pain, you know, you're in pain. Something has to give. You have to find the right solution. But even the doctors, when they give you these pills, yes, you're going to get addicted. So it's a no-win situation somehow. And some people can't afford the medications.
Which is a whole nother issue. I mean, with myself, my co-pays exceeded $900 a month for just medication alone. I went to the government, tried to get help. I was told I make too much. My income is too high. How could my income be too high if I'm paying out $900 a month in just medication? That's not even including my health care coverage that I have to pay for. So, in turn, you have to become proactive in your own life and take a stance for yourself and research and see what the pros and the cons of these doctors are. Because there's a lot of doctors that are out there that want you to only go to a specific pharmacy and get the prescriptions filled. Well, why do I have to go to this pharmacy only?
Why?
What's the perk you're getting? Somebody's getting their hand patted.
Okay.
You know, either the pharmacy and the doctor. There's got to be a congenial function.
Well, I
there
know when I go to my doctor's office, a representative will come in with a whole bag of pills and they'll be giving it to them. They say, give to your patients.
Right, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, in the classification of drugs that we're talking about, representatives I've never seen come into this practice. But I have seen many people come into this practice that were dope addicts, that literally were falling asleep in his waiting room. They could not keep their eyes open.
And they seen it. The doctor's seen it.
The doctors and the technicians that were working in this doctor's office.
So what are they afraid? What are they afraid of then? What are they afraid? And what's, you know, what are these doctors afraid of when they see somebody passing out in their own office?
I don't know so much that the doctors really have great
Fear?
concern for that. You know, I think that their concern is the residuals that they're getting back. You know, and how they're going to benefit from writing 400 prescriptions of OxyContin, whether the patient needs it or not.
I have another friend that he had back problems, and I will mention his name as well. His name is Derek. And we used to do seminars all across the country. And every time that we got into the car, we drove each time, and he drove, and he would say, I got to stop at my doctor's first for Percocet, whatever, to survive this trip and the seminar. And I would say, don't take it all. You're driving, or I'm going to have to drive. And this person today is in a hospital, and he's a vegetable. He's a vegetable all over. And I said to his wife, you know, she couldn't have done anything, but now she feels the guilt because she says, you know, maybe I should have done something. Maybe I should have done something. He wouldn't be a vegetable. And I know my friend Derek would not want to be in this bed. He can't talk. He doesn't even see anything. But what scared you enough to do what you did?
When I was told that I had a stroke.
A stroke. And I remember that because you didn't even know you had it.
No, I honest to God woke up and my face was swollen. my right side of my face. It was drooped. And I had pins and needles down my right arm. And that was not, I mean, the drooping of the face was unusual, but the pins and needles in my hand were not unusual because I suffer from 17 bad discs in my back. In addition to, as I said, a multitude of other illnesses. So when I felt the pain, you know, the numbness and the tingling in my hand, I didn't associate it with my face. I called my dentist, and my dentist said, I'm not seeing you. This is not a tooth-related issue, Denise. You need to go to the ER, and you need to go now. And I said, I'm not going. I have to go to my part-time job. I need the money. You know, financially, I'm by myself. It's a very difficult situation to be in because it's a catch-22. You're only allowed to make a certain amount of income. However, your medications exceed, or your insurance exceeds what you're bringing home a month in Medicare. So there has to be some type of resolution that we get. We, the people that are in pain, and we, the people that live in this country, that pay taxes in this country. I didn't ask to be put in the situation I'm in. I don't want to be not working at the age of 42. I went to school for psychology. I want to be back in my field. I love the field that I worked in. Now I'm psychoanalyzing myself, saying, okay, Denise, what's the next step you need to do? You need to get off of this medication.
But you were smart enough to realize it, but you were still addicted to it. So what did you do? How could you tell somebody out there what to do? Because they're sitting there saying, I don't know what to do. I'm addicted.
I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't advise anybody to do it the way that I did. With
cold turkey, because you could have a stroke.
Correct. And wean yourself off of the medication that's an extended release tablet, because it's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. What I would recommend is you find a doctor that you are confident in. And this is by doing research. If you have to go to 50 doctors, and I am telling you, I went to almost a doctor's appointment every day, from an endocrinologist, neurologist, pain management, primary care physician, podiatrist because of the neuropathy in my feet. I went to a multitude of doctors, as I said, almost a doctor's appointment every day. And finally, I came across a doctor that was willing to work with me. And at that point in time, I had already started weaning myself off of the medication myself.
Because you were smart enough to know it, or you just didn't like the feeling, or you knew you were addicted to it?
I didn't like what the result was in December, which was I was told that I had a stroke.
Okay. So that's the part
that's what scared me out of fear to take myself off of the medication. And I did it by cutting the pills in half and cutting the pills into quarters.
Okay. Did you hear this now?
And as I said, I do not advise anybody to do what I did, you know, without your doctor's approval, because it is extremely dangerous.
Well, wait a minute. You're saying without your doctor's approval, but the doctor's only going to say, no, stay on that medication.
That was my pain management doctor.
Okay.
That told me I could not come off of the medication.
Okay.
My primary care physician was absolutely 100% on board with me as far as coming off of the medication. I hadn't been off of pain medication in 10 years. I wanted to see where I was baseline.
Now, let me ask you. You're sitting there back, and you're saying with your family, your friends, and you knew what psychologically, you knew what they were thinking, as you put it. Who was supporting you?
I had support from, at that time, my parents, my partner, my friend, my closest friends, and my friends who suffered from the same, like Dolores, who suffered from the same type of injury as I did, who could relate to me.
So who they understood. So this is why even you and Dolores understood one another. Because
it was an unspoken language.
Yeah, it was an unspoken language. And you know what the crazy part is? Like, maybe, I am so paranoid. I am into alternative medicine. And I used to try to talk my friend into it. And I seen the pain. Like when I used to try to talk my friend into alternative medicine, she would say, I'm in pain mentally and physically. You have to know. And she knew I knew then. But I won't take, when I'm in pain, or if I had to go to the dentist and they give me Tylenol with codeine, no, don't want it. And I'm paranoid to it, as a matter of fact. So paranoid. I'm glad I am. It's like I look at one pill, and that one pill's going to addict me.
Right, and it absolutely can.
And it can. So I'm into all this alternative medicine. I got hundreds of dollars of alternative medicine, but let me tell you, it's not the price. It works. I remember my one doctor said to me, "Pearl, your blood pressure's getting up there. Here's a pill." I said, "I don't want it. I don't want it." "Well, you know what? If you don't want it, just as your doctor said, you're not allowed to come." I said, "I'm not coming back here. I am not. I will research a doctor until..." And then I went to a chiropractor and a nutrition doctor, and he said, "Take this magnesium tablets. That'll lower your blood pressure automatically." And I'm saying, tell me more. So I did shows with nutrition doctors that said the food that you eat could be your own cure. The food that you eat.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. I changed my eating habits. I started to exercise. Walking, which I was restricted from doing for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Walking, I was only allowed to walk 2 blocks. 42 years of age. 32 years of age, being told you can only walk 2 blocks. This went on until I got to the point where I just totally got fed up, as I said, in December. Mm-hmm. And you saw the situation in December.
Yeah.
I told my family, I'm done. I'm coming off. Whether you're on board with me or you're not on board, this is what I'm doing. And I kept a journal that if, God forbid, if anything had happened to me, mm-hmm. that they could take me to the hospital and they could be honest with the doctor saying, okay, well, she's done X, Y, and Z with the medication that she's been prescribed by a doctor. Mm-hmm. And I'm standing here today, almost 6 months later, to the date of my stroke, off of every medication I've taken. Mm-mm-mm. If I have pain, I will take a Motrin 800. Mm-hmm. I have Lidoderm patches that I use, which are just a topical numbing agent. It's nothing you take via mouth, PO. It's not something you take intravenously, which is another thing I wanted to bring up. When you go to these pain management doctors, one of the first things they look at are your arms to see if you have track marks.
So they already know, or they think you're a drug addict even before you get to there. So they think it's an excuse. That's why you're going to them.
Right. They're taking your blood pressure, but why they're taking your blood pressure, they're feeling down your arm to see if they feel any type of track mark. As I stated, I worked in the psychiatric field. Mm-hmm. So I know what the signs are.
So you would know.
You know, I played stupid with them and acted like I didn't know what they were feeling for, you know. But I knew they were feeling for blown veins.
And that must have mentally put you down as well by saying, look at this, I'm in the field, they think I'm a dope addict.
Right, I felt like I was becoming one of my patients.
Yeah.
But as I stated, you have to get your mind in the right frame first and say, okay, this is what I want, and I know that I can overcome this.
Let me ask you something. Is it you? I know, and I think you know with my best friend, is it you or is it the people around you that has to convince you or back you up, or you know how I used to put the food in her and everything else to get her strong. Mm-hmm. What does a person need? Do they need mental support from their friends?
Absolutely.
Family?
They need the support of their family and their friends to overcome the addiction that the doctors basically have put us in.
Where they feel worse? I mean, if they
feel worthless. We feel worthless when we're on these drugs. I mean, there's no desire to want to go out. Mm-hmm. There's no desire to want to leave your house. You're basically become a prisoner of your own environment.
Your own mind.
Right.
Because no one cares.
Right.
No one
cares.
And
you think that everybody's looking at you, and I shouldn't say you think, you know that everybody's looking at you with that stereotype. When you sell, I had to take 36 pills a day to get up. What? Mm-hmm. You're only 42. What do you mean you have to take 36 pills to get up? You're only 55, as Dolores was.
You know.
And I'm going to say something else.
Go ahead.
And this is just because of Dolores and the situation that Dolores was in. Mm-hmm. If you are taking narcotics, I want to tell you something. You should be taking a stool softener as well.
Oh, thank you.
Because if, God forbid, you are on pain medication and you have a problem with your bowels and you push, you could die, as my friend Dolores did.
And my mechanic last week. My mechanic as well. Now tell them why.
Because what happens is your heart explodes.
So when you're in the bathroom and you're constipated, and you're
But you become
you're on all these
constipated.
drugs, naturally you're going to become constipated.
But the doctors don't tell you to take something.
No, I just learned because I said, I was talking to you and I said, what's the connection? Dolores was in the bathroom. My mechanic was in the bathroom. And you said, and then I talked to a doctor and a nurse and they said, no, same thing that you said. Once you're in that bathroom,
if you push, you're in danger. You're
exploding your heart.
Right. Your blood pressure actually builds up so much that you're making your heart explode because you feel the urgency, like, oh my God, I haven't moved my bowels in 4 days. Mm-hmm. But you're not, because you're on all these drugs that are preventing you from. You're binded.
Yeah.
You know, you become like your bowels become like an impacted bowel, and it also goes into, unfortunately, what happened to Dolores. You know, complications can then arrive in your bowels.
Okay.
You know, because of being on this medication.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just triggers.
It just
and triggers
exacerbates
and triggers,
from there.
And it goes on. The crisis in this country, I think it's, to me personally, I could be wrong, but I think it's worse than cancer right now. Because many people are under prescription pills with the doctors. Many people, if they can't get it from the doctors, they're getting it from overseas, as you heard me say. And overseas, they're not doctors over there. They're just pharmacists that are shipping it over. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the problem in this country? We're dying from people. Look at Whitney Houston.
Absolutely.
I mean, here's a girl, she was in pain, and yet she's trying to hide it. And yet, what bothered me with Whitney, they're not thinking of her as the utmost singer or what she's done for our society.
No, they're looking at her as a dope addict.
They're looking at her as and that bothered me.
And Whitney was a phenomenal person.
That's what bothered me, people, because you could be the best at what you do, but your doctor could be turning you into such an addict that no one around you, and they start believing it.
Right. And I say, before you judge somebody, before you look at somebody and place judgment upon that person, ask yourself one question. Are you willing to walk in the shoes of that person and help them become the person that you know they can be? Which is taking them off of all this medication, not judging them, not looking at them differently, not saying you're not worth anything to our society. You know, you have to be willing to also do your part as a friend. Yeah, well,
you know, I do.
A family member.
And you know, and let me tell you, if you do have a friend that you have a problem that has this problem, I know what I did.
I know what you did. You fed. I mean, Dolores.
I kept her so healthy. I thought I was keeping her so healthy with all the foods and everything else. And I sometimes I think that if I did not do it, she would have been dead a long time before that.
I agree with you, because I saw the weight go up on Dolores.
Yeah. I actually bought a scale. So people out there, as a matter of fact, I'll never, as I said, it haunts me, because I even bought a scale with all the food I was feeding her by saying, get on the scale now, get it off. She was desperately trying. So I do blame some of these doctors that was doing it. And I will never forget, because if you go back on the archives, you go back even on Facebook, you go back to the point, she was over at my place every day. Why? Because I was an unconditional friend to her, as she was to me. And that one day, God works in strange ways. God works in very strange ways. But if you go back on Facebook to that year, to that day, I came here. I did a show. And that show that I did was on October 13th. So go back on Facebook. It'll freak you out. I seen her every day, and I said, tomorrow, you don't have to come over. I will make a big spaghetti dinner for the next day. And she said, okay. So that day I came to do my show. And the computers went crazy. And the producer, Ron Homer, said, Pearl, something's going on. The computers are going out of whack today. And I said, you know what? Don't try to fix them. This is the first time this has ever happened. Let's postpone the show to next week. So I left the studio and I turned on my phone. And I received a call, and somebody was screaming on the phone by saying, she's gone. Well, what was I supposed to think? She's gone. She died. Well, I think that put me in a trance for the next year, in a denial. And even at times I'm in a denial because I always look back to say, what could I have done? This is why I want to do a show on this. What could your friend do? What can your family do to people that are not addicted? They're not addicted. They're in pain. And I'll never forget it because she used to say to me, Pearl, I'm in pain physically and mentally. You hear it, but you don't listen.
And there is a difference between a junkie and a person that is medically dependent for medication.
What's the difference?
Somebody who is in chronic pain is in chronic pain because of what is going on with their body.
Okay.
A junkie makes a choice to go walk out of their house and to go seek the drugs.
Okay.
Somebody who is in chronic pain,
So you never really went to
I didn't go
the
looking
bad
for the
areas to
drugs.
say, give me a needle to shoot up.
No,
Give
I didn't
me
go
this.
looking for the drugs. I went looking for test results to find out why I was feeling the way I was feeling.
Yeah.
I went to a doctor to run tests to say, something's not right. Like, I'm not feeling right. Sciatica, you want to talk excruciating pain. That grabs you and you can't move. I mean, it literally paralyzes you.
How do you feel today now?
I feel phenomenal. I can tell you I feel fantastic. I'm not going to lie. There are days that are bad. When it rains, we know that we can forecast the weather. But you know what? My mind is stronger than my body. And as long as I continue to remember that, I can balance my mind and my body like the yin and the yang.
Okay. So you're actually, you have enough. I mean, so the best advice you can tell the people out there
Is to be proactive in your own life. Take a stance for what you want, whether it be a reduction of medication because you don't like the way that you're feeling. Don't be scared to tell these doctors, I'm the patient, not you. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what I want.
How about these doctors that say, I'm the doctor, you're not?
Then I say go find another doctor.
Go find another doctor.
Because otherwise you're going to be in a situation I was in and be bumped up to 310 milligrams of Oxycontin, which, as I said, is an astronomical amount of medication to be taking.
You know, people, the reason why for this show is because I do believe it's the worst thing. I think it's a step ahead of cancer right now, even though there's a cancer watch, everything else on out there. But I think there's millions of people out there, and we know there's millions of people out there that are on prescription drugs, and our government's not doing nothing, and they can't do nothing, because if you don't get it from your doctor, you're going to get it from overseas. If you don't get it from overseas, you're going to get it into the bad neighborhood. So either way, if you're addicted and you're saying, but I need it, I need it, I need it. Well, here's one person that won against the odds. Won against the odds. And my friend, she went against the odds too, because we talked about this topic at times, but she would never, as she would say, I would never turn into a junkie, because she wasn't a junkie. But you know, you have to look at where the heart is, and you have to, so if you have a friend, call her up right now, call him up right now. If you have a family member, call them up right now to say, you know what, I really understand, I watched this show today, I seen this woman on the show that was addicted. And I'm really understanding what you went through. My biggest regret, I can't turn the tables back, on my friend, my best friend, and she was my closest friend for 30 years. And I wish I could turn the tables back. But if I can help somebody out there, I'm going to do it. Denise, I can't thank you enough, because a lot of people wouldn't have the guts to come on the show to say what they went through, and that they were addicted. They're too embarrassed.
No, I'm not embarrassed, because my feeling is if I can help one person, as you stated, then I've done a job. And if I can help 2 people, that's even better. But if I can help more people than that, it's actually making me emotional, because it touches me so seriously that I just want to be able to help one person not be considered a junkie because they have a medical problem.
You know, anybody out there, I would love to do a challenge on this, because to correct this problem, because it's so closely connected. Anybody out there, you know, that sees this on Facebook or sees this on YouTube, make your comment. Make me your comment so we can do a part 2 show on this. Make your comment to say, you know what, I'm trying to do it, and I stopped all of it. I stopped seeing my doctor, fired my doctor, whatever reason. I like to hear from you. I like to see what you did after this show, what you did to make a positive difference in your life. And I also want to hear from your families to see what you've done because somebody in your family is addicted or your best friend is addicted. What you did to make a difference and not just block it out to say, well, they're gone. They're never gone. And this show today, and we said at the beginning, my friend is sitting over there as usual watching it going on. And I feel her every day. She's around me every day. I have a locket that she's around my neck every day. And I have a crystal. So she's around me every day. And she's making this show happen. And I said to Denise when she came here, this is the same room where my friend sat at. This is the same room that I sat at. This is the same room now that she's sitting at. And we hope to make a difference. I like to hear from you. I really do like to hear from you because I like to do a part 2. If we can make a difference, let's make a difference. Get off of the prescription drugs. You're not a junkie. If you want somebody to talk to, call me.
Absolutely.
Call my friend, 1-800-876-CREDIT. She's also on Facebook. Email her, Denise Harlan. She's on Facebook as well. So you can email to say what you thought of this show today. I want to make a difference. Next week, don't forget, it's the bankruptcy show, the 10-year curse, as I call it. Don't do it if you don't have to file bankruptcy. We have a lot of great shows coming up, but I think I've done many shows. I'm going to say this is the best that I've ever done because I'm trying to make a difference. And if I can make a difference and I saved you, I want to know about it. Just say, you saved my life from this show. This is Pearl Polto. As always, making the most of your credit, giving credit where credit's due. Today's show, it's to you, Dolores. We know you're watching down on us.